Hey guys, it's Sydney at Treadmill Review Guru. Today we're comparing the Hydrow, Ergatta, and Aviron rowers. These are all excellent rowers and you can find them all on our best rowers list at treadmillreviewguru.com. We like and recommend them all for different reasons, so stick around and find out which one best suits your needs and goals. All right, let's dive in and check out the construction on these rowers. So for their footprint, the Ergatta and the Hydrow are similar in length. They're both 86 inches long. The Aviron is 97 inches long, so it requires more space in your home to use. So that's just something to keep in mind. It does, however, fold in half. So it folds up and folds in half just in between the footboards, and then it has transportation wheels so you can just push it around, and it's really easy to move around. I think definitely easier than these two. However, the Ergatta and the Hydrow do store upright. The Hydrow, it comes with that storage kit that's sold separately in order to be able to store them upright. The only thing with storing them that way is you want to be sure that you have a proper ceiling height to be able to do that. They also have transportation wheels on the back so you can lift up the back end of the rail and be able to move them around. One thing to consider is that the Hydrow weighs 145 pounds, so it's heavy and it's noticeable. I'm able to lift up the back end, move it around, and store it upright myself, but for some users, it might be a little bit more challenging, and it definitely is more challenging to move around than these other two rowers. Comparatively, the Ergatta is only 103 pounds with water in the tank, so it is significantly lighter and easier to move around, especially compared to the Hydrow. And the Aviron is 97 pounds, so it's really light, and when you have it folded up, it just can be pushed around really easily. So they also vary in their weight capacities. So as you can see, the Ergatta sits closest to the ground, and it also has the largest weight capacity. It has a 500-pound weight capacity, and this is the largest that we've seen on rowers, so it can handle users up to that size. The Aviron has a 397 weight capacity, practically 400 pounds, and the Hydrow has a 375-pound weight capacity. So really all of these rowers have large enough weight capacities to handle pretty much users of all sizes. Also, moving on to the seat height. So the Ergatta is a little bit more challenging than the other two to get on and off. The seat sits lower to the ground. It's only 12 inches off the ground, and it just makes it a little bit harder, especially if you have maybe more mobility issues that kind of limit you to sit closer to the ground. This is something to consider. The Hydrow has a 16-inch high seat, so it is easier to get on and off, and then the Aviron has the highest seat at 20 inches, so it is really easy to get on and off. So just something to be aware of. With the Ergatta, you do sit closer to the ground. As far as the seats go, I will say we prefer the Hydrow the best. It has this really nice contouring in the back here to support your tailbone. Also, the cushioning just has a nice amount of give to be able to it feels a little bit more comfortable. Keep in mind, these seats aren't lazy boy recliners. However, we do prefer this seat out of all of them. We also like the contouring and the cushioning on the Ergatta. It's just a little bit narrower and just feels a little bit smaller than the other two. The Aviron is the widest seat, so you definitely feel really supported underneath because you have a little bit extra room on the sides. However, the cushioning is just a little bit more stiff, and it doesn't quite have, it's not quite as forgiving as the other ones, so it can just feel a little bit more uncomfortable. However, all of these seats are really great to be able to row for pretty much however long you would like. And moving on to the footboards and the pedals. So we prefer the Hydrow and the Aviron in this case, comparing all three of them. The Hydrow and the Aviron just have nice spacing in between your feet so you can push off that footboard. The Ergatta also has a nice amount of length so you can adjust it just like with these other two rowers, and it can really handle pretty much users of all sizes as well as all kinds of athletic shoes. Just something to keep in mind is that the pedals are closer together, so if you're taller or a larger user, you might feel a little bit cramped. Our taller reviewer who's 6'5", he was able to use this rower. However, his feet, he just noticed that he felt a little bit cramped. And I do notice it, especially when testing kind of side by side next to the Hydrow and the Aviron. I just feel like I have a little bit more room on these two rowers. So that is just something to keep in mind. With the handles, we do really like the texture on the Aviron. It just has this kind of little bit gritty type texture, so it never feels slippery in your hands. It's also molded to be able to keep your hands and wrists in proper alignment when you're rowing. We do prefer the round handles like on the Aviron and the Hydrow. This might be kind of our team's personal preference, but with this handle, it's just a little bit, it's not quite round, it's a little bit more oval, so it keeps your hands in that proper alignment. However, we do prefer the rounded feel. That way you can kind of adjust your grip a little bit, and you can especially do that on the Aviron. This one allows you, it rotates, so you can rotate to kind of find the best grip for you. And then finally, what really makes these rowers different is the resistance that they use. So starting with the Hydrow is a magnetic rower. So it uses magnetic resistance. It also has a belt drive, as does both of these, so it's quiet. It does make a little bit of noise, but it's pretty minimal. And it has a drag factor on the screen that you can adjust to get different tension. And also, the more intense you row, the stronger that tension is going to feel. And that's true also with the Ergatta and the Aviron, and really what we look for in rowers. So with the Ergatta, this one is a water rower. So it has this tank that's filled with those pedals, and that uses water resistance to be able to row against. So when you're rowing, it really has a realistic feel. It feels like you're rowing on water, and it also sounds really soothing. There's a lot of people that actually prefer the sound. I know this is one of my favorites in sounding. It just sounds really nice in that water sloshing. Also, something to keep in mind, however, is that the resistance isn't adjustable on the Ergatta on the screen. So you can add more resistance to the tank to get a little bit more tension, but it's not going to be adjustable like these other two rowers. So something to keep in mind with that. However, the more intense you row, the more tension you will get with that water resistance. And then finally with the Aviron, so the Aviron's a little bit more unique as it uses two types of resistance. So it's a hybrid rower. It has this fan attached, and this uses air resistance, so it's an air rower. So when you're rowing, there's fan blades in the flywheel, and that sucks in air to create that resistance. And then it also uses magnetic resistance. And with the magnetic resistance, you can adjust that on the screen to get even more tension, so you can kind of adjust your resistance on the screen, and then also the more intense you row, the more tension that you'll get, especially with that air resistance. Something to keep in mind is that the Aviron is the loudest out of all three of them because it uses air. It's not quite as loud as, say, the air rower, the Concept 2. However, it does make some noise, and I'm going to let you listen to all of these in a moment in that functionality section. All right, now diving into the content on each of these rowers, this is also where they differ, and this also helps contribute to the different experiences that they provide. So starting with the Hydrow, this one offers that just classic trainer-led experience. It's often called the Peloton of rowers until Peloton, if they come out with a rower. The Hydrow is kind of considered that right now. So you have really professional quality filming. All of the classes are filmed on water, so you get that outdoor content in a bunch of different locations. All of the rowers are professional to guide you through, so this is really great, especially for beginners and all the way to advanced athletes. If you love trainer-led content, the Hydrow is for you. The Ergatta offers gaming content, so it's a little bit more unique. It doesn't have those guided workouts, so especially if you're a beginner, you may want to either look into something like the Hydrow or get some guidance if you need form correction on top of using the Ergatta, because you don't get that form correction on this rower, so that's just something to keep in mind. The gaming content is really fun though. It is really great if you're competitive. There are races where you can race against other members, and also they have different programs that use progressive overload, so you can really progress as you kind of play different games over the course of a few days, a few weeks, and really see your rowing progress over that time. And it's just really fun and engaging, and it's a different kind of content that than what we normally see on fitness equipment. And there are all sorts of different types of games, and also the games are structured a lot like different workouts, so you can kind of choose between doing intervals, there's the races, and the push programs are probably my first personal favorite on this rower. And the Aviron kind of has a little bit of everything. So they have gaming content. The games are pretty unique. There's one where you swim away from a shark. There's others that are structured more like workouts. Plus you can stream from apps like Netflix and Hulu, which it's not available on these rowers, so just keep that in mind. It's just available on the Aviron. Also, there are some guided workouts and coached programs that use an instructor. They also have more like onboard workouts that don't follow an instructor, but instead just kind of follow a class format. So you can kind of choose that way, and those are good, especially if you're a beginner and you're looking for some guidance. You can also compete against professional athletes. There's a virtual rowing experience as well as on both of these where you can do free rowing as well. So all of these kind of have different types of experiences, and they all offer subscription content. We highly recommend whichever rower you choose subscribing to the content, because that is really where we feel like these rowers, it really highlights their excellent build and be able to give you that really fun, engaging experience on all of them. So now I'm going to let you hear how each of these rowers sound. Starting with the Aviron, I'll let you hear that fan. And here is the Hydrow, and it uses that magnetic resistance. And here is the Ergatta, and it uses water resistance. So we recommend all of these rowers, but for different reasons. So on the Hydrow, you get more of a classic guided rowing experience. There's trainer-led classes, and it's great for beginners all the way up to advanced rowers. The Ergatta is fun. It has games, and it's really great if you're competitive. There aren't any guided rowing workouts, so if you do need form guidance, we recommend looking into extra guidance on that to make sure your form is correct when using the Ergatta. And the Aviron is great if you want a little bit of everything. So they have games. You can also stream from apps like Netflix and Hulu. There are some guided workouts that are good for beginners. And also you can compete against professional athletes, and really the list can kind of go on with the variety that you get on the Aviron. All of these rowers, I can't stress enough how much we like them, and just for different reasons, because they provide just a different experience overall. So thanks for watching. You can head to treadmillreviewguru.com to learn more about each of these rowers. They're all on our best rowers list. We also have individual video reviews on our YouTube channel of each of them if you just want to learn a little bit more about those tiny details I might have missed. And you can check the link in the description to check for current pricing. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We create these comparison videos for you guys so you can see how this equipment compares directly to each other before you take them home. I'm Sydney with Treadmill Review Guru. I'll see you next time.